I like that one of my first note ever for series 1, episode 1 for Rose is for whatever reason just not a golden girl. Thank you, me.
Hey everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Who Is My Doctor?
Who is my doctor?
Who is indeed. I'm your host, Zach, and I know a lot about Doctor Who.
And I'm just a little guy, Cassie.
Just a little guy in a big old coat.
Yes, sir. All snuggled up in this land of pretend.
And today we're looking at Series 5, Episode 12 and 13, The Pandorica Opens and the Big Bang.
Ooh, I see you've also have it just on our home screen as if I haven't already looked at the thumbnails for the upcoming episodes.
I had to be careful because I know that while you've seen the thumbnail, you haven't necessarily analyzed the thumbnail.
Oh, my brain went, this is something that I shouldn't see. Click.
You had the reverse of a photograph. Remember, you undeveloped the picture.
It's the way that I'm going to be super real with you right now.
Mm-hmm.
In a way that I was intending on keeping a secret, but because we're in the space of telling the truth, there was a day I opened up, I was doing work on your computer and it was open on it wasn't on my internet tab that I keep open.
Mm-hmm.
I may or may not have seen one of the Amazon emails you got, and brain went, click.
You're talking about one of your Christmas presents.
Yeah. It's one of my least favorite things. I am notorious for forgetting things.
Mm-hmm.
It's the illicit information I'm not supposed to know. That brain is like, oh, better hold on to that forever.
But yeah, I think part of that is, I think there's a natural human response there where it's the adrenaline rush that comes with knowing something you're not supposed to that makes it so you'll never forget it. Like there's just a stronger sense memory than if you're than this podcast where we're sort of doing a utilitarian thing where by the time the episode's over, you don't really need to know most of the information again.
The way that I asked one of my cousins to get me an egg roll the day that my grandma died, and the fact that I still haven't gotten that egg roll and it's been months. Yeah, like that.
Yeah, exactly like that.
Highly emotional, very non-relevant. I had already gotten an Egg McMuffin earlier in the day. I didn't need an egg roll.
Well, speaking of high emotion, this is the finale for Series 5, and we get to find out a little bit about some of those mysteries that have been set up.
I'm so sorry. I'm just thinking about egg roll still.
We get to find out a little about those mysteries that have been set up all season, like when River Song rather ominously said the Pandorica will open earlier this season. We find a little bit about the cracks in time. We find out about all kinds of things that we've talked about.
Cool.
What might you be expecting from this finale so far, if you've had any thoughts about the little name drops we've had about what the Pandorica might be?
I can imagine that Pandorica is what they are calling whatever is inside the rift or the crack.
Okay. So you think it's called that because it's like Pandora's box?
Kind of, yeah.
Okay. That's
specifically because the thumbnail super gives it away.
Well, speaking of some things that the thumbnail gave away, but I'm hoping you didn't notice, let's get into the Cassie Raffassi a little bit here.
Yeah. My answer, Rory.
In this episode, a lot of aliens that we have seen before, a lot of enemies of the Doctor, all converge in this one episode. I will give you a point for every alien race you can name
you fucker.
That shows up.
You know damn well I don't know any of them.
Yep. If you can describe enough of them that I will give you the name, I will do it.
I'm sorry. This is such a mean. That's so mean.
Well, yeah, because
Zach, my memory is so bad.
I like that you put your mic down for this meltdown.
That's the most fucked up.
Well, because most questions you can really only get 1 point for, but this is one of those questions where I've opened it up enough.
You've opened yours. Hold on. You've opened up your own Zakorica box. And I'm looking inside it going, ooh, a single Cyberman.
See, there's one. You know Cybermen.
A Dalek. That's it.
Okay. So you've guessed Daleks and Cybermen so far.
Slee stack. Several R2 units as well.
Several R2 units.
This question's super fair. That's why I'm laughing at it, because it is so pitted against me.
Yeah, it might be the most fair question I've ever asked you. And I think because of that, everyone listening is like, well, we can't get mad at Zach this time. This is all on Cassie.
This is all on this poor girl who has no memory.
Now, to make it fair for you, I will tell you they are only creatures from the Revive series. This isn't some trick question where some of them are from the classic series. Some of them might have been from both, but the only ones in this episode are ones that you have seen since Eccleston started.
Well, because here's also the thing too, is I've written down the names for. I've written down almost all of the names for them.
Okay.
The issue that I am facing now is that I sometimes I don't have the best spelling.
I mean, if you can guess enough of their visual appearance, I will give you the name for the point, as long as you want to say, oh, it's these ones. So you've guessed Dalek and you guessed Cybermen. Do you want to lock in both of those guesses?
I suppose.
Okay. What other ones might be coming to your mind right now that you think that you're thinking of?
The one from Unquiet Dead, the electricity.
Oh, the Gelth?
Yes.
The gas ghosts? Okay.
So I know it isn't cheating if I go through and look at my old notes.
Yeah, I would say it's cheating if you go through and just start naming every single alien. Then I might have to reframe the question a little bit.
Well, yeah, so like truly, well, that's kind of why I'm like, all right, maybe I just need to think about which ones in particular.
Mm-hmm.
So Gelth, just because I thought they were kind of cool.
Okay.
The Rhino Police.
The Jadoon.
The Jadoon. Yeah.
Dun, 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 dun.
Oh, I was supposed to be doing the Netflix sound.
Jadoon.
Yeah. Oh, okay. This one's helpful. This note is helpful.
Okay. I feel like I'm making you take an open book quiz.
Basically, but my notes are also not very helpful. But the potato-looking motherfuckers.
Oh, the Sontarans. Okay,
yeah.
You want to guess the Sontarans?
I am going to get Sontarans.
Okay, I'll put the Sontarans down.
Yeah, so I have Cybermen, Dalek, Gelth, Jadoon, Sontarans. I did say Slee Stack in reference to the lizard people.
Mm-hmm.
Again, that's one where I'm like, I don't think, because they were just here. And this feels like we're reaching back and I'm not going to call this a greatest hits, but this does feel a little bit like a greatest hits sort of.
I also did say aliens, and Silurians are technically from Earth.
Fair. I already wrote it down. I'm just going to leave it. I don't get points taken away for incorrect guesses.
If you start making a ton of guesses, like if you start throwing everything at the wall, I might start...
Dogs, cats, guinea pigs, rats. The more that I read my notes, the more confused I get. The sun. Burn with me.
Oh, like the sentient sun? You think they come back?
Yeah, perhaps. I'm just throwing spaghetti at the wall now.
So you have guessed 6 so far. I think that's a fair number to guess at. Would you agree?
Yeah, for no other reason than I would just be sitting here flipping through my old notes. Like I said, I am just getting more confused the more I read.
So let's just lock in these 6 guesses. You can let me know.
That's why I take notes, though.
So let's lock in the 6 guesses here. We have Daleks, Cybermen, Gelth, Jadoon, Sontarans, and the sentient sun.
And horseshoe crab.
I'll give you 6. So you want to replace one of those with the horseshoe crabs?
I think because I know that the sentient sun isn't in there because you didn't remember.
So I'll replace the sentient sun with the horseshoe crab.
6 isn't a good number, though. 6 is an evil number, Zach.
Okay, so I'll include the sun then.
I like 7 better.
All right, so 7 guesses it is, including horseshoe crabs and the sentient sun. All right, and for one that I think you might have a little more fun with than having to flip through your papers here.
My paperwork?
Yeah, all your paperwork. In this episode, River Song decides to disguise herself as a famous world leader. Would you like to take a guess as to which world leader that might be?
Michelle Obama.
You think River Song disguises herself as Michelle Obama?
No, I just miss her a lot.
Michelle Obama or River Song?
Yeah. As a world leader?
Mm-hmm. Throughout, obviously the show travels in time, so that she could be any world leader. You could think about. I will just to narrow it down a little bit. I will tell you that the world leader is female. So if that, it's not.
Wait, can I ask this? Is it a callback to anything else?
Not to my knowledge.
Okay, so not Queen Elizabeth.
Oh, Liz 10, you mean that we got?
Yeah.
I wouldn't. No. Liz 10 does make a cameo appearance, but it's not River Song.
Okay. England Prime Minister. What's her face? She had her own little arc. I'm just blanking out on her name.
Oh, you're thinking of Margaret Thatcher? Is that who you're thinking of?
No, maybe.
Oh no, you're
in
thinking
the fucking show.
Oh,
bro.
that's right. You're thinking. Well, I already told you there's no callbacks. But you're thinking of. Oh my god.
Well, now I'm just angry. I can't remember her name, and neither can you.
Just because she said it so many times in her last appearance.
Yeah, and I don't even remember where episode that would be.
Harriet Jones.
So she is not Harriet.
Yeah, no, she's not Harriet Jones.
See, but that's where I'm confused now. A world leader, a female world leader. Haven't heard of one.
Really? You can't think of one throughout history?
Genuinely cannot think of a single fucking one.
Okay. I mean, I could go through a list if that would be helpful.
Yeah.
Because we've got obviously several queens of England that we've seen. So there was Queen Victoria, 2 different Queen Elizabeths, including the one that just recently died. Margaret Thatcher was a prime minister of England that I had mentioned. There was more recently Angela Merkel was chancellor of Germany, going even further back.
All right. Since it's taking you that long to look and you've already said it, I'll just guess Margaret Thatcher.
Okay. I was going to say there's also some more historical ones. There's like Catherine the Great.
I don't.
Cleopatra.
Let's just get this ball rolling, brother, because it's already too late.
Okay. All right. So you're going to go with Margaret Thatcher.
Yes, because you said her earlier, and that's usually your like.
My tell.
Yeah.
All right. Well, if that's the case, then we will find out together how many aliens show up in this episode. And if River Song decides to disguise herself as Margaret Thatcher as we watch the Pandorica opens. They said it should never be opened, that its contents could unleash chaos, despair, and unimaginable horrors. And now it can be yours for less than $10 a month. Introducing Pandora's subscription box. Each month we deliver a new unspeakable terror directly to your door. The first month, a porcelain doll that knows your name. The next month, a sentient shadow that follows you around the house and whispers your secrets. And of course, glitter. So much glitter. But wait, subscribe now and you'll also get a very special festive evil. It's free. It's horrible. It's a delicious mug of eggnog that questions all your life choices. Pandora's subscription box, unleashing new evils upon the world, one delivery at a time. And we are back from the Pandorica opens. So what'd you think, Kathy?
Hooey.
Right? It's a lot of you don't realize how many like loose ends were in this season, yeah, right?
I mean, I'm gonna be real honest. I was confused a lot. Just this show in general makes me a little angry and a little confused because of how many times you just have to nod and wave. And agree with what's happening.
I will say, I think this episode doesn't really have a lot of like, when you break it down, there's nothing that doesn't make sense, but it's a higher concept than a lot of other episodes are because there's a lot going on.
Yeah.
And because Moffat is such a, I guess, emotional writer, I'll say, he will wave his hand at the explanation and then kind of get back to the part that he's more interested in.
I feel like if I were to pose a much more academic stance and a dissection of the episode, or the show in whole, leading up to, or at the very least, the series leading up to where we are right now in this present moment, there is a lot. There is a lot to look at and to keep track of. And in full transparency, we're not watching these at a steady rate.
Yeah,
we watch a couple, and then a few weeks will go by, and then we have to watch a few more to catch up. And it's not so much binging, and it's not.
We're almost watching it week to week, like as someone would have when it came out.
Yes, but also no, because it's not a steady stream every week of me getting this content. It's so there isn't the like, oh yeah, last week it did this. There are times where we haven't recorded an episode in several weeks. Right now being one of those moments where I really have to scratch my head and go, what has happened? And it truly does not help that earlier today we watched Wicked.
Yeah. So that I mean, that's just a heavy story burden to have on one's shoulders.
It's a heavy story, particularly since if we're going down memory lane, which watching this show is for you, going to the movies and seeing Wicked, something that I have wanted to see on the big screen for 20 years.
Something you've waited for since birth.
Well, it's something, though, there is that sort of like emotional catharsis that comes with, like, yes, the movie did make me sad and I was emotional during it, but then it hit me like a gut punch how happy child Cassie was to finally see something like this. Watching this particular episode, and I do have a point here, this episode feels like it wants to have that sort of like emotional catharsis attached to it. But I still don't feel like I have a very solid grasp, particularly on Matt Smith's Doctor or Amy Pond. If something like this had happened with Rose, a companion that was sticking around for several series, I don't think that I would feel the same way. Because so far, the character that I've been really glomming onto and somebody that I really do fucking like is River Song.
Okay.
I love River Song.
All right.
And so her and her story, I'm just captivated by and is so much interested in so much more.
Well, especially because they really like spend the first few minutes dedicated to River Song, like her journey to find this painting from Van Gogh and then to carve Hello Sweetie into the side of the oldest cliff face in the universe and then disguise herself as Cleopatra, all just for the purposes of like getting the Doctor to come there because he's not picking up his phone.
You graffitied the oldest cliff face in the universe.
You wouldn't answer your phone.
Like, and that it's wild, but that fucking makes sense to me.
Yeah.
Everything after that with the Romans and the TARDIS, like not doing what she's supposed to. The TARDIS having she/her pronouns now.
I mean, it is a ship. A lot of people refer to ships as she/her pronouns.
I suppose so.
Yeah. So for the sake of, I'll just give you the very simple version of it for the sake of making sure that you're on the same page. Basically, all of the enemies of the Doctor throughout history have traced the cracks in time back to the TARDIS, and they know the Doctor flies the TARDIS, so they assume that these cracks in time are caused by the Doctor. So they form a cabal to basically lock the Doctor in a box. They're going to lock him in the Pandorica forever so that he can't get out and cause these cracks in times and distort reality. Not knowing River Song also knows how to fly the TARDIS and therefore can take it to the period in time where it explodes. And the way that they get the Doctor there is by stealing a lot of Amy's favorite memories and planting them into this place.
I would like to have, for just a moment, you talking. The volume goes down very low on you, and inside my head is just.
Yeah. So basically, they've used
It's elevator music, bro.
they used Amy's memories to trick the Doctor into coming
it's
here.
Stupid.
I mean, I don't agree. It's overly complicated.
It's silly.
Are you new?
Yes, that's our whole podcast, Zach. That's the whole premise. I should have opened this episode with, and I don't know a lot about Doctor Who, because clearly I don't.
Yeah, it's like I said, it's kind of a lot. There's a lot of like.
You mean to tell me, in all honesty, that the Daleks, for one fraction of a second, would admit that they need help?
In regards to saving the entire universe, yes.
They're intent on saving the universe now?
Intent on it because they're one of the dumbasses that live in it.
Yeah, but their whole intent and their whole goal is to literally exterminate anything and everything that isn't Dalek.
Yeah.
So
but the thing
for
is that
half a second, if the entire universe were to explode, you don't think that for half a second they would have just a popcorn of a thought of, then we could be the only things in existence.
I think that's the point, is that they realize that they wouldn't be in existence either. Everything
I don't think
would
they're
be
that
erased.
smart. I think that they would beat up everybody else and say, let this happen.
The dog, let it wash over me. Sweet release.
Let the rain fall down.
How could this happen to me? I've made my mistakes. Just emo Daleks.
Like, specifically the Dalek. Because, like, Cybermen, yes. They were the ones that proposed the alliance between Cybermen and Dalek in the first place.
Uh-huh.
I'll buy that. I could buy every one of those other motherfuckers saying, yes, the Doctor, a natural-born enemy. Even though the Jadoon do feel just kind of lawful neutral.
Yeah.
So I don't know why they've made an enemy of the Doctor now.
I mean, the Silurians weren't necessarily evil either. They were just antagonistic to the Doctor. A couple of them were pretty like, let's kill all humans. But, not all of them were. So there is a part of it where it's just, the other creatures in existence that know about the Doctor could trace back this problem to him. And when we're going to stick him in a box and then stick that box in the attic.
We're going to stick him in a box and put that box inside of another box and then mail that box to ourselves. And when it arrives,
I will smash it with my hammer.
I will exterminate.
Yeah, it's very like, I don't.
There are certain things here that I really feel like I'm having to just say, okay. No, it's fine. It's okay.
Okay. I mean,
it's that exact.
This
response.
is one of those where I'm just gonna have to do, like, I do think that and I understand how it can come across as really confusing, because the way it has to be told, the story has to unfold. But in doing so, you don't get the pieces all as one nice, like, oh, and now we've solved the mystery. It's okay. Now you get this chunk, and then a few minutes later you get this chunk. And while it does all come together because of that, it can be like, I've lost the plot here. And
it
so
could
I do
also truly be the fact that if they said at the very beginning that the Pandorica was opening from inside.
Mm-hmm.
So perhaps it's the Pandorica itself that's the most perplexing to me. If they had just put like a mirror on the seat and had the doctor look at the mirror and say, "Oh, fuck, it's me. Hi, I'm the problem. It's me."
Isn't it obvious? It was him all along.
Well, because I even had the thought of like, oh, the doctor is going to come walking out of the Pandorica. There are 2 now.
That's just the rest of the series. There are 2 doctors.
Genuinely, if the master had stepped out, sure.
In his little hoodie.
Yeah. Still phasing in and out of his own body.
Hello, doctor.
Yeah. My God, it's Barty Crouch Jr. Hello, doctor.
Let's talk
but
about.
we're getting a little off track. I got 5 points.
Yeah, you did get 5 points for the first question. You were incorrect. It was not Margaret Thatcher. It was Cleopatra. I was surprised a little bit by that one. I really thought Cleopatra would have been the only female that would have come to mind for you. So I was surprised that she didn't at all.
No, hey, I was not an Egypt kid. An
yes.
ancient Egypt kid, rather.
Yeah,
Do you know what my hyperfixation was?
What's that?
Go on, guess.
I'm gonna say Greek gods, like
Mesopotamia.
okay, that does track.
Yeah. So much so I did my own little I made my own little jar and made up my own cuneiform to put on it.
Nice.
And then the Hanging Gardens of Babylon were another one for me.
Nice. That is a pretty good one.
Thanks.
But yes, you got 4 initial points for Dalek, Cybermen, Sontaran, and Jadoon. And you had said the Silurians, you would call them Sleestacks.
Yeah, because that's their name.
The Silurians, and I had talked you out of picking them, so I'm going to give you the point for them too. For the Silurians being, so you do get 5 points for one question here today. I'm glad that worked out for you just fine.
Me too. That's the only thing I'm happy about.
Let you catch up a little bit here.
Is that I was correct.
I don't want to delve too much on this first episode story because we could talk about when we're talking about both, but I will. There are a few things that I thought might be fun to talk about, especially at the very end. Oh
yeah, my little bullet points for the very end was Amy dead, River exploding, and Doctor imprisoned. Let's talk about that.
Yeah, Amy got shot by Rory with his handgun because Rory's a plastic man.
With his finger gun.
Yeah, bang.
You missed out on that.
Well, in the first episode, I called them handguns, so I've got to call them that every time now.
His fingers literally lift up, and he's got one middle finger that is a barrel.
Yes, so this episode does feature the return of Rory, unknowingly an Auton. And had his brain placed in this Roman soldier, as Amy calls him, Roranicus, which is I think it's a good name.
Roranicus is a good name.
We watch Amy's memories come back as Rory is like being controlled by the Nestine conscious to become a soldier, and he's like, "No, I'm Rory, no."
Ew.
I don't know where that voice came from. It started because I was like slightly choking. When I was doing the voice, and then I couldn't stop after that. That was just where it was.
Yeah. Put it away.
Yeah, and then Amy finally remembers Rory as he's like having his little panic attack. And she goes, "Rory Williams, you're my boyfriend." River Song is on the TARDIS trying to get out of the day it explodes.
She's in the TARDIS trying to get out of the TARDIS.
Yeah. And when she gets to the door, on the other side of the door is just a stone wall, so she cannot leave. And she says, "I'm sorry, my love," which is the first time we have had her verbally say that the Doctor is her love. We've had sort of people guess things, like you've guessed things. There have been, at one point, Amy questioned if River was the Doctor's wife. But this is the first time we've had River herself say something out loud. And then the Doctor is being closed in a big box. So those are really all I really wanted to touch on. Was just I thought the ending, especially as you see the other galaxies start to fade to black as the suns all go
explode.
Yeah, the suns go supernova and start to explode all at the same time, leaving the Earth in a sea of darkness.
Yeah,
that's a very haunting image to end an episode on as a cliffhanger.
I would love to say, yeah, it's really scary looking up at the night sky and not seeing anything. Or that sounds scary. We live in LA. It's rare that you can go outside and see a star.
Yeah, that's a good point. So Everyone in Los Angeles and New York, for them, it's just a Tuesday.
Indeed.
Well, let's get on to the next episode with the Big Bang, and let's get the Profassi going for that. See if you can make some more points happen in your little Cassie point folder.
Hooray.
Your Cassie point profile? Point portfolio? Point folio.
I've just been calling it my little point pouch.
Point. I do like the point pouch. In this episode, Matt Smith gains his second most famous piece of clothing behind the bow tie.
Is it the fucking fez?
I was going to ask, do you have a guess as to what it
Yeah,
could be?
it's the fucking fez.
The fucking fez?
Yeah.
All right, so Cassie knows about the fez, and she thinks this might be the episode where it appears. And then just to keep things simple, who or what do you think keeps the Pandorica safe in the time between ancient Rome into modern day?
Huh?
So something keeps the Pandorica from becoming destroyed in the 2,000 years from when the Doctor gets put in it to the modern day. Do you have any thoughts as to who or what might protect it?
No.
No?
No, because this doesn't make sense to me.
Okay, well.
Like, I'm genuinely in a spot right now where I truly I don't understand wibbly wobbly timey wimey Zach. It hurt my brain. It make me scared.
Well, let's just get you an answer then, so you don't have to be scared for too long. As we watch the Big Bang.
I don't even get an opportunity. You're not going to give me like a multiple choice or anything?
You made it sound like you didn't even want to.
Because I'm scared.
All right. Well, do you have a little guess then?
I need like a rough example about what kind of answer to give.
Well, we've got a whole host.
Because it's a whole host of things. Because my first thing would be like, it's a giant cat with a ball of yarn.
We've got a whole host of characters here. We've got the Daleks, we've got Cybermen, we've got the Autons, we've got Rory, we've got a dying Amy, we've got...
I mean, since Cybermen were already there, I suppose they could still remain there. Rory could sacrifice himself. It's just a picture of me. The one I gave Liam and Katie for Liam's birthday.
So picture you straight cheesing.
Yeah, it's just me. I stole that to
Jesse.
I'll mail it. Fuck! I said it in the podcast. Now I have to do it.
He just gets a FedExed envelope one day.
We don't even have his address.
There's no address on it. It just somehow appeared at his desk.
Jumanji style. It's drums. Oh man, it floated all the way down a river.
That's what you think kept the Pandorica safe? It just floated down the river.
No.
I'll tell you what, I will give you three choices. They won't be specific, but I'll take the right answer if you can guess it. Is it an alien? Is it an Earthling? Or is it a natural occurrence? A natural occurrence would be, like we said a second ago, a river.
No thoughts, head empty. Just the sound of the cat's water bowl. And for that reason, I will say natural occurrence.
All right, so there is a natural occurrence that protects the Pandorica.
It was Noah's Great Flood.
So we will find out if this is the episode where Matt Smith gets his fucking fez. And we will also find out if the Pandorica is protected by a natural occurrence as we watch the series finale for Series 5, The Big Bang.
Ugh, but I don't like that show. It's so mean.
That's the Big Bang Theory.
Oh, well, there's another Big Bang, but I don't think you'd like the climax. I'm talking about a porno.
Oh, okay. I thought you were talking about the drums from Jumanji again.
The episode ends with that.
And we are back from the Big Bang. Pachoo! 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 Technically, it's the Big Bang 2. At least according to what the doctor says.
The Big Bang again?
The Big Bangerang. So, now that we've had 2 episodes for this story, what are you thinking now, Cassie?
I'm still angry.
Still angry?
Angry for a different reason.
Okay.
You will never see Space Florida.
I want my Doctor Who Beach episode, damn it, and I missed it again.
At least you know he had it.
It's not the same.
They went to
If you told me, though, that all Floridians were aliens, I'd believe you.
I wonder if there are other space states.
No, just Florida.
Just Florida?
Just
That's
Florida.
That's where we put the mess.
My thought is it's all of Florida and the Appalachian Mountains. They're from space.
Do you think Space Florida is its own Disney World?
Yes. They have Earth Mountain there.
I do like the idea of Earth Mountain.
It's just a molehill.
Da 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 da.
Yep.
So this episode is actually Stephen Moffat has gone on record saying this is his, if not his favorite, one of his favorites that he's written for the show.
I will say this one made and didn't make sense to me.
Okay.
If for no other reason than the second that I thought I understood what was happening, I then didn't understand what was happening anymore.
Okay, where did
and
it
then
lose you?
continued to, because I was like, Amy Pond coming out of the Pandorica box, talking to Amy Pond, child. I will follow along. And
especially when the first thing she says is, okay, this is where it gets complicated. I went, oh no. Cassie was already confused. This can't be where it gets complicated.
no, it was the second then that the doctor died for the second time that then I went, things are about to get stupid again. And I can't complain because I don't want anybody getting mad at me for being confused. So I'll just have to say, I understand.
They do very clearly say that the Pandorica doesn't let you die.
It's the specificity of when they put the label on Big Bang 2. I went, okay, cool. Because I don't understand the first Big Bang Theory and not the show, like the actual
I don't understand the show. I'll give you that.
Yeah, well, because it's the way that I was raised specifically, and like, yes, the story of the Bible and how God created Earth and the universe in 6 days because on the seventh day he rested, which like we love a self-care queen. I love that God went, I made all this stuff and now day 7. All right, I'm good.
The Big Bang was just the 7th day when he got himself some snoo.
Well, yeah. Snooze. Well, because that's the thing where I have always then justified like, okay, the Big Bang then, if we're looking at that at the creation of everything, that was the creation of everything, physical and metaphysical. That is the creation of everything. Because like evolution is very real. The exact steps that go into evolution, those where it gets fuzzy, which is where I think is like, okay, cool. I think science and religion can really hold hands in this moment and like dive into the abyss and like try to make things happen. But the second then that they brought up second Big Bang here, I went, I am not supposed to fully understand because I don't get the actual thing that is backed by science. This is backed by science fiction. Therefore, I just need to embrace the chaos and surrender myself to Stephen Moffat. And say, okay, big guy.
I shall come to your Moffat-y ways.
Much to my chagrin,
Yeah.
I have to just accept what is happening as it is writ.
I will say that, and I don't know if explaining it to you will help at all. But
No.
Basically, it's just the light that was emitted out of the Pandorica heals people. It keeps you
alive.
alive.
The light in the Pandorica box is a grow light.
Yes, exactly. It is a grow light for anything, for atoms, for molecules, for life itself.
For weed.
Then the doctor took that light and shoved it into the TARDIS while it was exploding everywhere all at once.
My understanding was that he threw himself in the Pandorica box at the exploding TARDIS.
Yes.
And the
wibbly wobbly, timey wimey, silly willy bullshit that happens with all of that.
Yes.
We don't need to unpack it any further.
Yeah. The doctor basically took
I've already said silly willy bullshit. We can move on.
His little time watch that he had. He used that to pilot the Pandorica into the TARDIS. That's why he had to be in there.
No, just stop trying to explain it to me.
And then the light
You're
that
losing me,
exploded
Zach.
from the TARDIS healed the universe.
Zach, you're losing me. Please stop talking about this.
It's a potion fountain.
See, now you can't bring Faye bullshit into this.
I'm trying to get to Cassie terms.
You're not. I've already told you the ship has sailed. I'm standing on the dock.
The TARDIS has exploded. I don't understand anymore.
Everybody is throwing life jackets and buoys at me, but I'm too far away from the water to reach them.
Yes.
That's what we're doing right here, dude. You can explain to me up and down, left and right. Sometimes it takes me several days to weeks to really digest and understand things.
I'm gonna wake up next to you, like it'll be February of next year. I'll be like, oh, and I'm like, what? And you're like, it's okay, I just get it now. I'm like,
yeah,
oh.
I need you to understand. This is why I never did particularly awesome in school, is because it would take me literal weeks to grasp concepts and knowledge.
Yeah, I will say I also, well, I don't think it's Moffat's like absolute best. I do think it's a really solid one, especially for the emotional payoff of a lot of things. And there are a few things in it that I think are really fun and clever in a way. One in particular is near the end of the episode when the Doctor's timeline is unraveling and he's stepping backwards through his story with Amy. Mm-hmm. There's a moment where they go back to the episode Flesh and Stone, and a monologue that we heard the Doctor give Amy then was actually from this Doctor going back through his own timeline.
Yeah, I did like that.
Yeah, and I didn't want to spoil this for you, but there's a clue that that's the case in the original episode. Because in that episode, the Doctor had his coat taken off by one of the Weeping Angels, and when the Doctor gives that monologue, he's wearing his coat again. So there's a part of it where I wanted to be like, "Oh, isn't that a fun little continuity error they did?" But I didn't want to even do that much. I just thought that was a fun, like they had thought that far ahead to plan it out for that shoot, because that was the first episode they shot, or probably the first story they shot, probably the second episode. Yeah, it's just I thought that was a neat little touch. Was there anything you particularly liked? Or...
Are we talking about just this one, or are we going to go over parts 1 and 2? Because I don't know if you've clocked this. I've taken a full page of notes for each.
Okay.
Ranging anywhere from Space Florida to horrible Cybermen octopus clam.
Well, why don't we start where you want to start then? Do you want to go? Let's go back to the first episode.
Let's go back to the beginning. Yeah, I still stand by. I think River Song might be my favorite.
Yeah, I think
person character. There is something about a character or somebody being intrinsically equals to the Doctor, but also has a smarmy attitude about them.
Yeah,
where they revere themselves as slightly better than the Doctor.
They're a femme fatale.
Well, because she understands things that the Doctor simply doesn't.
Yes.
Because he doesn't understand her.
Yes. And she has the advantage of they haven't really touched on this yet, and it's not 100% true, but there is a general vibe that as the Doctor moves forward in his timeline, River moves backwards.
Well, yeah, because we meet
River at the end.
Yeah.
So there's a part of it where River will always know more than the Doctor until suddenly it flips. And I think it's a really interesting way to take that character. Again, not 100% true. I'm not going to spoil too much for you how that goes. But
even just like when she makes her escape out of her jail cell, and it's just a sick drawing of herself saying bye.
Yeah, when she gives that hallucinogenic lipstick kiss to the guard, and the guard's like, "Your tricks don't work in here," and he's like shooting at a game of Hangman, basically. I did like her, like the style of the stick man too.
It's specifically the drawing of herself she included. She didn't just write like, bye bitches. She drew herself like, bye.
With curly hair and all. She really got the details down.
It had the same energy as Lilo's drawing of herself being alone.
She just hands the doctor a stick figure. She's like, this is my badness level. It's very high for someone of my size.
It's unusually high for someone my size. And then I like her, not calling card, but her little like notes to the doctor throughout time and space.
Yeah, and it's always
hello, sweetie.
Hello, sweetie. Because it started with showing up on the psychic paper back when we first met River Song, and then it was in the box earlier this season, and now it's against the oldest cliff face in the universe. And then at the end of the episode, at the end of the two-parter, the Doctor and River have sort of a back and forth where River sort of really teases him about the idea of whether or not they get married.
Are you married, River?
Are you asking?
Yes.
Yes.
No, hang on. Did you think I was asking you to marry me or asking if you were married?
Yes.
And I think that's a really fun way of like teasing at what could be without spelling it out for you. Especially because right after that, what she says is, you're going to find out who I am very soon. Which, does that make you curious as to who she is, Cassie?
I love her so much. I don't care.
Yeah, I do think of all the ideas Moffat had, I agree that I think River Song is his best one.
I think that River Song has been the most interesting because, and I do wonder if it's my like relationship, I suppose, with time travel is the very like mushy, like time traveler's wife and things like that, where like my mom specifically like loves stories about time travel. And so she would I was too young when they started coming out, but she would regale to me like the Outlander series. She ate that shit up when it was coming out. I do wonder if there is that part of me that's like, I really love River Song's time travel story because it is reminiscent of those like sticky love stories that I've grown up to just like appreciate and love so much. So when it goes beyond, just a relationship story, rather, if that's why it loses me, the idea of saving the whole of time and space, like,
It becomes hard. It becomes too hard to relate to when it gets that big.
But when it's just two people whose lives are intertwining, but at different times and spaces in their own timeline, that's fascinating. It's so cool.
I mean, in that same vein, how are you feeling about Amy and Rory in this episode? Because I feel like
I feel like Amy took a couple like pedals backwards. I can't, because I was gonna bash her for a little bit. Because specifically on her wedding day, and she's like, "Oh, you may kiss the bride." Yeah. And I was angry, but I went, "Who am I to fucking talk?" That is the pot calling the kettle black. I am not in a position to say anything. Because if it was, I'm trying to like think of like a fictitious character. If it was a Starian that stepped out of a wardrobe and
on your wedding day,
on my wedding day, absolutely. I would say, I'm so sorry, Zach. I have some very important business I need to attend to.
Yeah, and also she's very high emotion in that moment. Like she's actively crying.
Well, because she's remembering something that she forgot. It's like it has the same energy as when you find something that you've been missing for a long enough time that your brain has just kind of erased it and is just surrendered itself to like, well, this thing doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah.
It's like it has the same energy as like a good example. I have that kit of travel watercolors that I thought I lost. And not only did I think I lost them, I thought that I had left them when we were in Walt Disney World, and I was just like, I'm never going to get those back. Those are gone forever. I found them 2 days ago and I cried because I was like, oh, these paints that I thought I had lost forever. One of the more relatable stories, other than when I found I was going to cut up one of my grandma's shirts, but then I sniffed it and it smelled like her. And I was like, I can't cut up this shirt. It smells like my grandma. And then my mom said, just take all the clippings off the shirt and put them in a bag and just huff the bag.
Just you. I walk in the hall one day and you've got like a clump of shirts in a paper bag and just
I miss my grandma.
just hyperventilating the scent of your grandmother.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
it has that same energy as this is something that you lost, but in this moment you are remembering things all at once. Like, of course you're going to be highly emotional. And she's always had a thing for the doctor. And Rory is a absolute gem of a guy and also remembers and goes, oh shit, I was plastic. You were at my bachelor party. You were the dancer.
Yeah, I agree that when Amy does that whole "you most certainly may kiss the bride," that also bothers me. There is a part I've sort of rationalized that to myself in the like, okay, she's very high emotion in this moment. The only other time that comes up after this is that sort of joke about we haven't had a schnog in the shrubbery yet, which really does feel like that's a joke. So there are parts of me where I'm like, okay, I can understand this, I can justify it. There is,
again, I am not in a spot where I can bash on that too much because I myself am no better than Amy.
Yeah. So like I said, I get it. It does. I agree. Feel like a character. It feels like a character step back, but also this character was literally just replaying all of those moments in her mind. So who's to say where she dropped off in that timeline of her mind? Where the last thing she might remember was the doctor shoving her in the TARDIS, and she thinks they're about to fuck.
Yeah, but when you also consider the fact that Rory stood by her side for
2,000
years, my God.
Right?
I bend the knee at Rory. I don't know how he did it, but he did it. He has my respect now. He protected and took care of her inside of this box for 2,000 years. And even after they had moved the box into the museum, he then got a job as a night guard.
Where he could watch over as everything in the museum came to life, except for his girlfriend.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do.
Everything in the museum came to life. Specifically, the Daleks.
Yep, the light from the Pandorica awakened the Daleks.
De-Medusa the Daleks.
Sticking with Amy and Rory for a bit, I do really like that whole that Rory waited 2,000 years for her, especially because up until this point, Amy had been the girl who waited because she had waited years and years for the doctor to come back. And Rory's like, "Oh yeah, how long did you wait, Amy? Oh, you waited 16 years. Oh, that's so sad. I waited 2,000. I waited 1,984 years in Azkaban."
I mean, not Azkaban. He was underground.
Yeah, he was underground. He was pulling them out of he was pulling the Pandorica out of fires. He was presumably a security guard at every museum the Pandorica went to because he wasn't leaving that thing's side.
So sweet.
It is. I mean, and I will say it probably helps that he's a plastic man, so he didn't need to eat or breathe. He could just, he could just stick around by this box.
What do you do with all that time, though?
I guess get really good at sewing security guard outfits together.
Yeah.
So he could be a security guard at any place in the world. I can't remember if they bring that up again, what he was doing for 2,000 years. Like if he's like suddenly got some really good skills.
The way that I would have just thrown a harmonica at Rory.
Here, you figure it out.
Yeah. A mouth harp.
Yeah, I do really like that element to Rory's story because it feels true to Rory that Rory would be the kind of guy who would do that.
Well, particularly since he is not human anymore, that he would have to give himself some kind of purpose in life because he doesn't have a life necessarily.
Yeah.
And so that it makes absolute sense that he would offer himself up to not only protect Amy, this person that he loves, but to also do service for the doctor in a sense.
Yeah, and I do like that he really makes the doctor say, he like forces the doctor to be like, would she be safer if I was here or not? And the doctor's like, yeah, fine, she'd be safer with you here. There's a part of it's like, doctor, she's in an advanced alien prison and he's got a sword. I mean, he's got a gun in his hand too, but
He did stab a Cyberman though earlier.
that is true. So but I really appreciate that, and I really like when we do finally get to the wedding scene, because there's a part of it where I like that the arc of that series had been set up with tomorrow is Amy's wedding day, but tomorrow could be whenever, and so now tomorrow is finally here, and we finally get to see a very sweet wedding that I have some questions about.
It's modest.
It's very modest. It's very understated. I like meeting Amy's parents, her mom and dad, for the first time.
My little dad.
Yeah, because the guy they cast to play her dad is like a head shorter than she is. And so he's writing a speech. Now, the part that confuses me is that for some reason on Amy's side is her father, and on Rory's side is Amy's mother. And I go, does Rory not have parents? Were they not invited to the wedding?
I don't think that matters.
Yeah, it doesn't really matter. It's just one of those that feels a little silly. And I like that Rory, having not remembered the doctor, as Amy's crying, Rory's like, it's because you're happy because we're married now. And Amy's like, no, I'm sad. And you could see the look on Rory's face of, oh no, she doesn't like me anymore already.
It's the, oh no, what did I do?
Right.
I fucked up somehow.
Yeah, I don't know how, but I fucked up, and my girlfriend's mad at me now, and now we're not gonna be married anymore. And
My wife is unhappy, and I don't understand why.
and I signed a prenup, and she's gonna take all my money. I'm a nurse.
They don't say that. You're
No,
making rash assumptions.
I am making rash assumptions. I really like that this solidified Amy and Rory, because now they're the first married couple to ever be on the TARDIS.
What an achievement.
Right? Because we've had some like people who were flirty. Like we had Rose and Mickey and Rose and Jack. We had someone who was in a wedding dress on the TARDIS, but we've never had anyone who's been actually married on the TARDIS. Certainly not with their partner on board as well. So I think that's a fun dynamic to add to the TARDIS, where it really is like the Doctor and this couple. Especially because now that they're married, they kind of can get past all of the repeat problems that we've been having this season, where it's like Amy isn't really into Rory, like Rory's into Amy. Like we've put that to bed now. The arc is completed. But let's we've talked about the companions. Let's talk about the Doctor himself a little bit. Because the Doctor gets a lot of like culminating moments in this episode. I think one of my favorites is all the alien ships outside Stonehenge that he's decided to defeat by monologuing at.
Well, because my favorite thing even before that is where he's saying that he's going to fight them.
Yes.
And River is telling him to just run, and he goes, run where? And she goes, fight how?
Yeah, that's a good dynamic between them too. And so the Doctor's idea is to just get a megaphone and just monologue into it about how scary he is and how they should all be very scared of him.
Well, because even before that, he goes, look at me, I'm a target. Which is kind of the Doctor's whole angle this episode is, look at me, I'm a target.
I mean, that's a very good point, is that a lot of this is just him either putting himself in harm's way or actively choosing self-sacrifice at every turn, which does suit the character a little bit. The character is very goofy and very like protective of his people. And so I like that when he does his monologue, part of it is just like, you guys are all whizzing about being very loud and noisy. Can you guys all just stand still for a minute? Because I am talking. And for said, it echoes into space, which doesn't make any sense, but it does.
Neither does his magic megaphone, Zach. Because that is something that that I keep forgetting is an element at play here, and even something that they bring up, that the Pandorica is a prison, and according to the Doctor, was a fairy tale.
Yes.
And that I forget how much Fae bullshit is in the mix now.
Yeah, you're not wrong. This Doctor especially compared to Tennant and Eccleston, really carries some Fae energy.
And it's not even that they explicitly say it, but they're
explicitly say it.
Well, they allude to it a lot.
Yeah. They call the doctor Amy's imaginary friend.
Yeah.
He's not always called, he doesn't really have a name. He's just the doctor, or Amy, he's sometimes the raggedy doctor.
That's so funny.
There's almost like a Rumpelstiltskin quality to it where you're just not allowed to know his real name.
Yeah. And you have to give him your firstborn child. So he'll turn all of your straw into gold.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what Doctor Who is all about. I enjoy his like I'm a big boy moment that he's having with all these with all of the ships where he's like, I want you to remember all the times that I stood in your way and I stopped what you were trying to do, and then do the smart thing and make someone else do it first. And they literally leave to go discuss who should go down first. And eventually the Daleks win. The Daleks are like, we will talk to the doctor first.
I still disagree that the Daleks would not have agreed to this.
I can absolutely understand where that thought is coming from. I do understand the idea of the Daleks want to take over the universe, and they can't take over the universe if there's no universe to take over.
I suppose.
Yeah.
There is I do have a specific vindication in that in the second part, the Daleks are the only aliens that
that come back.
Yeah.
Can you imagine?
Of course they do.
Can you imagine if there was just a Dalek and then across the way a Santaran comes down and it's just a Dalek versus a potato?
Yeah.
And then we get into the second half where the doctor sacrifices himself out with, the time travel shenanigans that go along in the museum. And the doctor starts to unwind his history and step back through it. And that's where we get Space Florida. We got that little monologue. But I really like the scene that he has with little Amy, with Amelia, when he comes back to the night that she waited. And goes to pick her up and take her inside.
Which, as a kid, is the biggest gaslight in the entire world.
That's always where you fell asleep.
Yeah.
He leaves her suitcase outside, though. That's still sitting in the dirt. But I was thinking back to when we watched that first episode, and you were like, nobody comes out for Amy. And I was sitting here just like, the doctor comes out for her. Eventually. We just don't get to know that for a little while. Yeah, the doctor comes out for her and takes her to bed and then starts telling him stories. He starts telling her stories. Specifically, the story of the TARDIS.
Yeah, that's the bluest box.
Yeah, that it's
very old and that he borrowed it.
Yeah, that it's both very ancient and brand new, that it was stolen, but he plans on returning it. So it's borrowed, really, and that it's the bluest blue there is. And I like that Stephen Moffat stared at that wedding thing and went, I have an idea for an entire season of television.
Yeah, for real.
He just stared at something old, something new, something borrowed, something blue, and went, I'm going to wreck so many 18-year-old hearts.
He was at a wedding when that happened, and he went, excuse me, and then pulled out a typewriter and just...
I like to imagine that he was sitting on that idea for a really long time. Like he was working on doing individual episodes of the show with Russell T Davies. And the whole time he was like, yes, I'm giving you all of my best ideas, Russell. Why would you ever think I have anything saved in my desk drawer here? I certainly don't have an entire season themed around a wedding.
About a wedding that is tomorrow.
Actually, that sparks an interesting question for me. You've said that River Song was your favorite thing about this episode.
She's my favorite thing about this whole series thus far.
Okay, because I was going to ask you, of the two Moffat creations, which do you prefer, River Song or the Weeping Angels?
River Song, easy.
Okay.
Weeping Angels scare me. Weeping Angels would have been on top if they didn't evolve in a stupid way.
If Moffat hadn't gotten his grubby little fingers back all over him.
Yeah, if they had stayed as just these, like, older than history itself.
Yeah.
It was the specificity of an image of an angel becomes an angel. It's okay.
Well, especially because that sort of undermines the end. We're going to get off track here, but I'll do something with it, I guess. That sort of undermines the ending of Blink, because the end of Blink is showing you all the different statues, and you're like, oh, any of them could be a weeping angel. And now you're like,
it's a horror story.
yeah, and now it's like, no, actually, the weeping angels are just kind of they look one way. They're not always statues. They could be anything that has the image of one. But yeah, if they don't look like an angel, they're probably not a weeping angel.
It's also the fact that it literally impacted Amy to the point where she could not open her eyes for several minutes, and yet they weren't in the ending here.
Yeah.
They physically got sucked into the crack. Where the fuck were they?
I like to imagine that they're trying to come, but someone keeps looking at them.
It's a Dalek that just keeps its eye stalk in their general direction.
Just they're there the whole time. We just don't know because they are Stonehenge. The stones just start like slurping their way towards them like dominoes.
Well, see, that's how weeping angels were made. They were carved from Stonehenge.
That which carves an image of an angel becomes an angel. I do like the idea of just like that, because it's Stonehenge, like one angel is stacked on top of two others and they have to like toss him off to get moving. Yeah.
Yeah, conceptually, I like Weeping Angels, but overall, River Song is way more captivating for me.
I am curious because without giving away too much, the next season of the show does feature River more heavily.
Cool.
Goes, like they say at the end of this, that the Doctor finds out who she is, and we also do. There's a pretty sizable chunk of the story dedicated to River Song.
I just hope they don't fuck it up.
I guess we'll find out how you feel about it.
You're ending the episode. I was like, please don't. No, I have so much more.
I know you've got a lot to say. Speaking of, was there something else you wanted to bring up?
See, because the thing I'm having a hard time understanding overall is in the first part. And it's the everything being like an elaborate trap for the Doctor based off of Amy's memories. Yes. Because I do appreciate that for a very long time, the Doctor kept on telling Amy that Rory is real in her memories, that she just needs to remember. And I'm glad that I was incorrect with Amy's assumption that the ring in the Doctor's pocket was intended for her.
Yeah, when she first like pulls it out, she doesn't say like, why are you giving this to me? We're not in this. Like, she doesn't bring up anything like that. She goes like, are you proposing to someone? Yeah. Which also, because she's met River, there's a part of her that I think knows, or at least expects, that he has or will marry River Song at some point. So I do think that there's a part of her shit that knows that if this really is the Doctor, it's not for me.
And part of my beef can also just be on the explanation of all of that and how like the crack in Amy's wall has been taking things from her and residual memory. Although I will say it did vindicate something that I've held on to, an actual real life belief, because the Doctor said that there are ghosts. Because the Doctor said that structures hold memories, which I firmly believe in.
Well, there you go. The Doctor, you have
which gives you no reason to not believe in ghosts, Zach.
I mean, the show isn't real either. I don't believe in ghosts.
Okay, yeah, but the way that you hold it so dear, it might as well be.
I suppose that's a fair critique.
All I'm saying is that structures hold memories, and Doctor Who said so. So nobody can deny it now.
Ghosts are real. Doctor's orders.
Yeah. Well, ghosts are energy and overlapping timelines and
what was the thing?
Real time travel, Zach.
What was that thing in particular you were saying that you thought you were getting hung up on from the first episode?
Oh, just the Romans and that Rory is and isn't real, and I can accept the fact that it's because they are just molded out of plastic. Yeah, but my hang up too is the fact that it's this book, these two books specifically from Amy's childhood. Were they still on her desk from when she was a kid?
I mean, so were all her finger puppets.
I guess.
She just never cleans her room ever.
Yeah, well, because that was the thing where I was like, I don't understand why all of these things keep being relevant. I have shit in my room from maybe 3 years ago. I don't have stuff hanging up in there from when I was a child. That's in a box.
Yeah, I mean, I will say that one of them is from probably 3 or so years ago for her, because she talks about how that book on Rome was a paper that she did for school where she called it The Invasion of the Hot Italians. So that definitely feels like she probably had to have been in high school at least when she was writing that. She's supposed to be 19 or 20 now, I think, in this moment.
She's getting married? Far too young.
I mean, she could be in her early 20s, but anyway, it's not that old. And then the story of Pandora's box was just like her favorite fairy tale. So for her, that's like you reading The Night Circus.
It's not a fairy tale. That's real thing that happens. I just need to find it.
The Night Circus or Pandora's box?
Yes. It was the like traversing into or like taking things out of Amy's mind, because we did have that whole like silence in the library that was inside of a child's mind, which might be where I'm confused because we've already done something very similar, but this is intrinsically very different.
Yeah.
But I can't separate the two because River Song was in that episode as well.
I think that's a fair assessment, especially because, I'm not the first person to say this. I certainly won't be the last. Stephen Moffat is by no means a bad writer. But he is a very limited writer. And that's one of his isms, is that his limitations. And so I do think that when he writes a story, sometimes he feeds back in on other thoughts he's had, which is like you said with this.
Let me redo the story again, but it'll be different enough that it's not the same story.
Yeah, I'm not copying myself, but I also... I can't stretch out beyond. I can't stretch my wings beyond this point.
I'm ripping off my own ideas.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah. So when he builds a world out of a little girl's imagination, and then later on builds a world out of a 20-something girl's imagination, it's not that different.
I liked that the Doctor, or for whatever reason, if ever there is a note written to the Doctor in his own hand or in Amy's, it's always with a red pen.
Yeah, well, I think that may have even been where they got the pen from, because they mentioned in the lodger that it needs to be written in red. So that makes sense why the pen that's at hand is a red pen.
Yeah.
Although I think he just got that off of a secretary's desk, now that I'm thinking about it. So, but it's a fun little touch. It doesn't really matter all that much.
It was something that I clocked and I went, I wonder if this is important. Very similar to I wonder if silence will fall. Did that get a resolution, or is that still hanging in the air?
That's still hanging in the air.
Okay. So that was intentionally.
Yeah, that's a thread that still has to be tied up. I will say you will figure out what the silence is soon.
Okay.
So you're not,
well, because there was a part of me that was like, is the silence the destruction of every other universe?
Mm-hmm.
And it's silent because there is nothing else. Because I clocked it in the TARDIS because it was like being repeated over and over again there when River was landing in the 26th of June, 2010. That was one of the things where I was like, no resolution. But if that's a thread that has yet to be followed, I just like the note that I wrote very small. That's I'm a hypocrite. That's when I started bashing Amy and I went, no, I can't.
I did. I might put this earlier. I like that when the TARDIS gets summoned from the space between spaces, effectively, and Amy's like, "I brought you back, Doctor. I did what you thought I could do. I hope I surprised you this time." Where the Doctor like pops out wearing a full suit and tie with a top hat. And he's like, "Yeah, totally surprised. Didn't think you could do it at all. Just wearing this old thing around the house." Which I do like the idea that he might have been wandering around in those like coattails for like a decade, waiting for Amy to grow up to her wedding.
Yeah, and the Doctor goes, "She's dead. She's been dead, but she's not dead."
And he pops into existence just wearing a fez. So funny thing about the fez, Stephen Moffat had told, I believe it was his wife, that he came up with a great idea, and it was to give Matt Smith a fez. And she just went, "You can't give him a fez. He'll never take it off." And he went, no. It's a great idea because I'm going to take it away from him almost quickly as I give it to him. Which is why I'm going to take it off his head and they shoot it out of the sky.
Amy takes it off of his head. River Song shoots it.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a team effort.
Yeah, it's very. I enjoy that bit. I think it's very funny that everyone knew how Matt Smith would get with a fez around.
Yeah.
So I will say that this last season, I think, is my favorite overall season of the show. I think it's one of the most consistent, and some of my favorite episodes are in it. But what I'm curious for you is, how different does this show feel this season compared to the last 4 now that the showrunners changed?
This one feels way more concise in the... It feels more concise in the... We're not having to spend a whole season figuring out who the Doctor is, because Eccleston kind of got the short end of the stick by having to reinvent this character after being the lone
decades,
survivor of a war.
Yeah.
And Tennant is trying to figure out who the Doctor is based off of what information Eccleston gave him, but also having not the best scripts to start the ball rolling. Matt Smith feels like they learned from, or like the writers learned from their mistakes.
Yeah.
And went, all right, cool. Not only are we going to give Matt Smith Doctor some solid stories to begin with right out the gate, we're going to make sure that he and his companion already know and like each other and have rapport from the get-go.
Yeah. I do agree. I think Eccleston especially... I almost wish the show had just started with Tennant. There's a part of me, there's a part of me that loves Eccleston's portrayal. I love the way he like portrays the anger of the Doctor, especially. But I think that with a show like Doctor Who coming back from that long and them not really knowing how it was going to play out yet, having someone like David Tennant who grew up such a fan of the show would have at least given it a slightly more sure footing than it had.
Well, because there's almost a part of me that wonders what it would have been like / wishes we could have seen a version where David Tennant was the first Doctor upon return.
Yeah, where he was
and then having Eccleston be later.
Yeah. I do think that would have been interesting. There's a part of it where David Tennant grew up as a big fan of the Fifth Doctor. To the like so much so he married his daughter. It feels very much like they took time to figure out Eccleston, and then as soon as they figured out Eccleston left.
Yeah.
So some of Tennant's first scripts are wobbly because they were written for a different character.
Yeah.
And so his thing also gets a couple of false starts. And I feel like Tennant's run really gets going when they introduce Martha.
Yeah.
And then it gets really good when they introduce Donna.
Yeah.
Well, not introduce, but when they bring in Donna as the regular companion.
Which I think is why so many people shit on Rose.
I would agree.
Because like I think that Rose has been my favorite companion.
Okay.
And it could just be because I could identify a lot of myself with her, and I like Billie Piper.
Yeah, she's a very good actress. I understand a lot of people who have problems with just how a 19-year-old girl would behave on the TARDIS. Because a lot of the way she acts are totally understandable for who she is. But if you're not, like I wasn't at one point, I wasn't ready to see a 19-year-old girl as she was. I was seeing her as I wanted people to be. She could be really infuriating because she's, selfish and kind of bratty. But all those things are also what make her interesting, especially in contrast to the Doctor.
Mm-hmm. And that's nothing to discredit anybody else as a companion thus far, because I am enjoying Amy Pond.
Yeah.
There are parts of Amy Pond that I am not a big fan of, specifically in this last episode, her like flip-floppiness between the Doctor and Rory.
Yeah.
Especially since she was sad enough about Rory to where Vincent van Gogh could figure out and say, you have a sadness about you.
Yeah. I do think that, I think it's interesting, and I hadn't really thought about it until just now saying this, that while Rory's gone, Amy doesn't act that way. It's not until Rory comes back that she's got this kind of like swagger about her. And I do think part of it is knowing that there's someone that she can come back to.
Yeah.
Like,
or there's somebody that now she is putting like not a show on for, but in the same way that you and I go at each other and like specifically do things to bother and annoy the other.
Like she's just doing it to bother.
It's the sign of, or that's what I've been told, is it's a sign of a healthy relationship if you can annoy your partner and they still love you at the end of the day.
Well, let's find out if we still love each other at the end of the day on the next episode of Who Is My Doctor?
I hate you.
Oh, what if I told you the next episode's a Christmas episode?
Oh, then I would love you again.
Well, we'll find out because the next episode of Who Is My Doctor is a Christmas episode. Merry Christmas, Cassie.
Huzzah!
'Cause I think this episode's coming out on Christmas right now, actually. Next episode's probably coming out New Year's, which will be very weird.
Merry Christmas indeed.
Hey, thanks for opening up this little box of chaos that is our podcast. We hope you had a good time. If you did, be sure to like and subscribe, share it with your friends, and if you really liked it, come check us out on Patreon at patreon.com/whoismydoctor, where you can get episodes of this podcast a whole week early. That's right. I know this episode is coming out on Christmas Eve, so if you want to hear us talk about the next Christmas special right now, come on over and subscribe for as little as $1 a month, or you can join at our $5 tier and be thanked by name, just like our current Big Daddy Daleks, Andrew Blewett and David Gansel. You can also find us on Blue Sky, Threads, Twitter, and Instagram at WimDpod. That's WIMDPOD. I hope you're having a great holiday right now, and that you have another great one next Tuesday, because your Tuesdays are now Who's Days.